Yo, people. Now, this may be a few weeks late, but this is essentially my thoughts on Naruto, how it ended, my feelings on the whole thing altogether. Now, Naruto has always been my second favorite anime, right under One Piece, because in my mind, pirates kick ninja ass. But on the other hand, when it comes to Naruto and One Piece, they will always be equal to me. Though, okay, equal in the sense of greatness, but the point is, I love both, but I'm specifically here to talk about Naruto, because a couple weeks ago, the manga finally ended, and like with One Piece, though Naruto and One Piece are the only two anime I actually go the trouble of reading the manga they're based on. So, of course, let me talk to you first. I loved it. I'm a big fan of it. Ramen is now my third favorite food. So, let me tell you a bit about how I first got into Naruto. It all started way back. Oh, far back. Oh, God, I must have been like... Oh, God. I must have been like... I think I was like 10 or 12 at the time. And, of course, I had a habit of staying up late, but I watched it on Toonami the first time. Now, that's the reason I'm familiar with anime in the first place. I watched Toonami. Whatever anime was on, I watched it. I thought the thing was fascinating, but I had no idea what anime was at the time. I just watched whatever was on. The first time I saw Naruto, it was the Land of Waves arc in the anime, and I believe it was the episode where Kakashi revealed that he had the Sharingan. Now, at the time, again, wasn't familiar with the series, but I thought it was awesome. However, and this was for me a couple of years ago, I have to say about God, it was, wow, that was 6 years ago. 6 years, that's amazing to me, really, but the thing about it was, I did not know what Naruto was at the time. It took me a while to really get into it, so maybe a year or two later, I finally got into it, because I did, in fact, watch it a couple episodes beforehand, but I did not connect the episode I saw then with the episodes I was familiar with, and then I started getting into it and realizing it was good, so I started watching the anime, and then eventually I kept reading the manga. I specifically read the manga because, well, as it came out first, it was always a couple weeks ahead. However, due to my annoyance at only having one chapter per week, I had a tendency to wait a couple weeks for a couple of chapters to come out. Which is why when I heard Naruto was finally coming to an end, I was like, holy shit. So I must have spent like 6 hours just reading the end of the war, the fights, all that, just to get up to the point where I got the double issue ending with the epilogue in full color. Now that was beautiful, simply beautiful. Can I just say, overall, I love Naruto. I always will. You know, One Piece is my jam, but Naruto's my boy. You know what I'm saying? I love the dude, love him. Now, as a whole, I love the series. It lagged a bit. I liked part 1 slightly better. Just something about, something about the character designs, because they were kids at the time, it was just kind of cooler to me that they were kids and doing all the shit that they did. Whereas with Shippuden Part 2, I was not as interested, thinking because it was slow at the beginning and I wasn't seriously happy with how things were going up until that point. Until, if I'm not mistaken, I think I got interested around the part where they... Spoilers, I should have said this earlier, but honestly, if you're watching this, it's over. If you're not familiar with this shit by now, then you should not be watching this video. So, I think about the point I really got into Shippuden was when they killed off Asuma, which for me was scary because they killed off the third Okage earlier, but it's like, well, I felt for that. I had my feels. I cried even. I have no shame there, but it's like, whereas I cried, for the third, it's like for Asuma it was worse because it's like Asuma. Not only is he young, and he had his whole life ahead of him, unlike his old man who passed because his old man he lived his life, and sure, you know, he was like, he died. And it's like, but he lived his life. He had apparently 2 kids, though we never met Asuma's sibling who was fathered or mothered Konohamaru. We have no idea who, but regardless of that annoying little mystery, the fact of the matter is the old man lived, had children, grandchild, didn't live to see the second one, and freaking, so it annoys me, especially, again, that's the second part. Asuma lived just long enough to tell Shikamaru about his kid, whom Kurenai was pregnant with at the time. Shikamaru, of course, is going to help raise the kid, to help train the kid. I'm good with that. I love that. What annoys me is that he's young, he has to die this way, and he leaves behind a kid. I swear, that, honestly, it's like, at that point, it was, because again, with the old man, it didn't settle for me exactly what could happen in this series. It was only once Asuma died that I realized not only was how intense this series could be and how good it was and could be, but that pretty much anybody and anything, any damage could be struck to a person, anybody could die, and, I just wasn't used to that. Even in, One Piece, again, I gotta keep comparing to One Piece because these two are, at the top of my list of things that I am totally obsessed with and happy with, and they're my thing. But, in One Piece, all the characters that died in the main storyline up until the point where we, and again, I considered the Going Merry a character. Another spoiler, burned her, gave her a funeral. I cried then too. I consider that a death, and it was sad to see her go. But it was even worse when we finally saw, again, spoilers, Marineford, Ace died. Boom. First time we see a character die in the current, present day storyline. Everything else, not the case, because again, all the other characters that died in flashbacks. Not in the case with Naruto. We had characters that died in the present tense. Sure, not necessarily. Hell, even back in the Wave mission, with Zabuza and Haku, I love those two. I always felt, it's been debated, but let's face it, if at this point, Haku is a dude. A dude who looks way too much like a chick to the point where I gotta say, dude, cut your hair, change your clothes, you look like a girl. But regardless of this, the two had something of a father-son relationship, and when I saw Zabuza cry, I not only felt vindicated, but I felt so happy that this could happen. And, sure, they both died, but the fact that they died together, and, I'd like to think they did go to the same place. And it's just touching, in a way that some of the other deaths just didn't do. But Asuma's a little sadder because whereas Haku and Zabuza only had each other and they went together, they passed on together, his woman was alive, his kid lived, and while I don't want those two to die, I don't want freaking Asuma to die either. I liked him. He was cool. After Kakashi, as far as the whole Jonin senseis go, it's like Kakashi, Asuma. Kakashi, Asuma. It's like, in this order exactly, as far as Jonin senseis. Unless you count past Jonin senseis, but I'm not. I'm only the main Naruto storyline. Not in the past, and not in the epilogue, which I'll get to later. Only in the present tense. My order of Jonin senseis is this: Kakashi, Asuma, Guy, Kurenai. Nothing against Kurenai. I like her as a character. Fell for her when Asuma died. All that freaking. But God, heaven help me. I don't know. never felt connected. I feel like they didn't, maybe because they didn't really give her much as far as character development. I mean, besides, or at least the kind of character development where I felt I really got to know the character in her case. I didn't feel that way with her, you know? But ignoring that, moving on. My point is that when Asuma died, that's when things with Shippuden really moved on for me. And of course, I always. Now, moving on, things got complicated. But honestly, after that point, I was pretty much satisfied with exactly how the series is going to go. I was happy. I was happy, you know, a whole thing with where the story was going. So let's move on to talking about exactly how. Now, you know, I was happy with the Akatsukis as the main villains, though that whole storyline was so complicated, and, you know, some mysteries took forever to be resolved, but I'm glad that they did eventually. Oh, God. The whole reveal of exactly how Kakashi got his Sharingan was, of course, much more important than you would believe. I thought, you know, nice little flashback revealing great character, kind of sad Obito died. And, you know, we have no idea what happened to Rin because, but of course, until, again, later. So, again, it didn't seem important at the time. But it is interesting, you know, to move on, you know, storyline-wise. Again, important later. What's interesting to me is that there were certain mysteries that were not absolved. I knew from the beginning, and I mean from the beginning, I started watching, not so much from the beginning because I was probably like 4 when Naruto first got published, and wasn't much older when the anime came out, as you can imagine. So the whole Naruto's dad is the fourth Hokage thing, though, when I first started watching it, and again, I wanted the anime before I read the manga, totally knew that Minato Namikaze, though we didn't know his name at the time, was in fact Naruto's dad. Instinct more than anything else. Instinct and rumors, mostly. But great deal of instinct. A majority of it is pure instinct, and I mean that. I was always good at guessing this stuff. The majority of it, I mean really, when these little mysteries that turned out to be, half the time, I had a tendency to be right. For instance, besides the whole, you know, Naruto's dad thing, I also was absolutely positively right in guessing that Toby was in fact Obito. Now, I was thrown off when he claimed to be Madara, but, you know, and I was not entirely convinced of that. I was willing to buy it at the time, but I was never 100% convinced that Toby was in fact Madara. So when it was finally revealed that it was in fact Obito, I not only felt once again vindicated, I was hyped because it was brilliant. Because yeah, he was alive and a bad guy, but he was a freaking alive, and damn if his his reintroduction as apparently being Toby and Madara and the second fake Madara the whole time. Because it's like especially when I realized, because so many people speculated when they finally, when Kabuto came about revealing the body to Toby, and Toby, Toby, Obito, Tobito. I mean, come on. With that, I mean, really, it's off, but only just a little bit. So really, I've always thought that was kind of a giveaway, but whatever. But the point is that when Kabuto showed Tobito, let's call him that for now, Tobito, the casket which contained, which we did not know at the time, Madara's body, his Edo Tenshin body, then we at least did not know. I was like, what secret, which revelation in the casket could possibly unnerve Madara to the point that he seemed to be willing to make this deal with Kabuto? I always wondered. I was never entirely sure until, of course, they revealed that the body was Madara's and therefore Toby was not Madara. So I was, but I wasn't entirely, I wasn't going right back on the bandwagon that he was in fact Obito. I didn't know for certain after that point because again I wasn't sure. He could be anybody. But when his mask came off and it was revealed to be Obito, I had a shitstorm of happiness in the and that happens to me a lot when stuff like that happens because I'm good at guessing and I tend to be just knew, I knew it, I knew it. Moving on, here's something else I knew, and I absolutely love. Now, Itachi has, for a majority, sorry about that, technical difficulties, for a majority of the run, Itachi was my favorite character. Even before it was revealed that he was a good guy and something of a triple agent. I mean, come on. Wow, complicated. But he was my favorite character. For no other reason other than this. He was a badass, he was awesome. Once again, yo. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties that happen sometimes. I don't know why. But where was I? Oh yes, I was talking about Itachi and how I pretty much knew. I mean, I didn't know he was a good guy or the whole complicated reason, real reason of it, but exactly why he killed his clan. But the whole testing my capacity thing, yeah, I never believed that. I mean, come on. I don't care how psychotic you are, even in a world where ninjas exist and that they can do things like walk on water like Jesus. Yeah, I never bought the whole simply doing it to test my capacity. I just never, especially, plus when we actually see the flashback, at least a clear one, we see he shed a single tear for what he had done. I was always suspicious about that. Oh, and you better believe, even after everything, I cried for what happened when Itachi died. Finally, excuse me. When I finally saw Itachi die, I was sad, like in any other death. I fed my feels, I cried, really, and I was affected emotionally. But when it was revealed exactly why he did it, I, my immediate reactions were these: one, Itachi, you are a man among men, a true ninja, and a total badass, and you're just amazing. And, you know, be fair, I said earlier, he's always been my favorite character. Be fair, until this was revealed that for exactly why he killed his clan, that's probably not entirely true. My favorite character up before that point was probably Minato Namikaze, aka the Fourth Hokage, aka Naruto's dad. He was my favorite simply because he was cool, he was mysterious, we didn't know much about him at the time, and he sealed, for all intents and purposes, we all figured it out, more or less, that he sealed a demon into his own son for whatever reason. And, well, pretty cool, you know, I mean, I don't know. But when it turned out Itachi wasn't nearly as bad as we were led to believe, I was like, holy shit. And then I cried, and my immediate thoughts, again, were this. One, as I said earlier, Itachi is just amazing, and Sasuke, for your reaction, you are a dumbass. You're literally gonna shit over everything your freaking brother worked so hard to achieve, and just be a dick about it. I mean, look, I can take Sasuke's everything up until that point. I can take with Sasuke because I know he was doing it for his reasons. It was acceptable. I understand revenge is corrupting and does stuff to a person. I accept that. I liked Sasuke, even if he could be annoying. Not nearly as annoying as some characters. I'll get to that again later. But freaking hell, it pissed me off. It upset me. Emotionally distraught I was. I sound like you over there for a second. Emotionally distraught I was. I can't do good impressions. Not good at impressions unless I do this. No, I am your father. Still not that good, but I think I sounded closer to Vader than I did to anybody else I tried to do an impression of. And in case you haven't catched it, I did try a couple of times earlier in the video. However, the point is that with all of this, Naruto, you know, he still went to the trouble trying to get Sasuke back. They're brothers and all but blood, but Sasuke making it more difficult and doing this stupidity. Following this, Itachi was eternally my favorite character, said about his death. Of course, pretty much not long after this, with everything that happened, we learned that freaking, again, really close together, these two events, we find out Jiraiya died too, and it's like, oh great. First Asuma, then Itachi, and now Jiraiya. So it's like, in my mind, because it's like, I probably dissociated it, but the fact of the matter is that emotionally speaking, that was probably the one that hit me the most. Just like, oh, I mean, come on. I mean, Jiraiya, man, it's Jiraiya. Yeah, he's a pervert, but I don't care. You know, I mean, if he wrote The Gutsy Ninja, he probably was a decent writer. And, you know, and he was a great ninja. And the fact was that I always was kind of curious what the hell was in those books. I always wanted to know. I would read them. Not for the pervertedness, though I probably enjoyed that, but for the actual content, though we have no idea what that actually is like. Though according to Naruto, they're boring. But let's face it, if there's one thing I don't trust Naruto with, it's the idea that one, literary work, an opinion, he's not an authority on that, and two, it's the fact that he only read up to, according to him, 10 pages. Therefore, he probably doesn't get to anything particularly interesting. I mean, you actually have to read more than a chapter in a book, which are usually longer than 10 pages, to actually get a concept of what the book is like. So, yeah. Overall, though, I enjoyed it, and Naruto, despite his poor ability when it comes to reading literature, is still one of my favorite characters of all time, inside manga and outside it. You know, he's awesome. No insult to him there. He's great. He's not stupid, but he needs to read the whole book before he says anything. And that is my final word on that matter. Moving on, Jiraiya, like I said, his death was wholly I mean, really, they're killing off characters left and right at this point. You know, granted, they take a while to kill off anybody we felt heavily for, though I admit Nagato's death, especially after we hear his reasoning for everything, did make me a little bit sad. I mean, really, because it's like, I liked him. On the bright side, him, Conan, and Yahiko are all reunited in death, you know, because I like them, and I'm happy that, that they're together again. Now with Jiraiya, Minato, Kushina, Asuma, you know, all Horizon, the third Hokage, you know, they're all together. You know, hell, Itachi too, even if he does come back briefly as an Edo tension later. They're all together up in that, you know, big old hidden village in the sky. Because, you know, hopefully they're watching over everybody, you know. Well, maybe not Minato, because up until the point where he was summoned, he was inside of the death god's stomach, you know, the old Shinigami. I can't imagine that would be pleasant. Though it probably would be interesting. Actually, now I remember the third and the first and the second Hokage were also in the stomach after that incident during the Chunin exam. I actually forgot about that for a second. Still fascinating, really, quite fascinating. Anyway, again, series as a whole, and the humor has always been pretty good. You know, I like that because, again, it can make me laugh genuinely. I think my favorite funny moment came very recently, only a couple chapters ago, as the series was coming to a close. Chapter 280, no, not chapter 682, in which, and this is brilliant, Naruto not only makes a great point about stronger ninja, he does something nobody could have saw this coming except for the writer, Kishi himself. This is brilliant, and at the same time, it's absolutely ridiculous. What happens in it, and I suppose it's mostly to lighten the mood because everything's been so high stress lately, especially since a while back, Kishi had gone and killed our main man Neji. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Neji at first. Who was? But once he changed his attitude, he got started seeing things for the way they were. He wasn't such a bad guy. He was cool, and he was actually somewhat likable. So yeah, his death caught me off guard again. You know, I just sad about that too. I was surprised as hell. Like so few, like I was probably one of the few people who didn't expect him to come back from the dead or something, because I knew that wasn't gonna happen. It's like Kishi ain't gonna go and kill someone the way they did Neji, even if it was by toothpicks, as we've been calling them. Just, you know, he ain't gonna do that. It's like it takes away from their death in the first place. You don't, which is why, despite the fact that you get to see people again, Edo tension is somewhat disrespectful. Person died, let them be. However, there's later on other factors involved. Where was I? Think about dead people. Oh yeah, maybe. Okay, because again, I get sidetracked so often and so easily. It's kind of annoying. I know. I'm sorry. 682. In this chapter, Naruto does something so brilliant. It's so freaking. It's ingenious, really. Oh god. And again, he's conspiring. It's great to see Sasuke and Naruto working together again, because they're doing that at this point. And Sasuke, while skeptical, decides to go along with Naruto's plan. As it turns out, it not only works, it's brilliant, but at the same time, like I said, ridiculous. It's totally unbelievable. Naruto pulls something that he's supposedly working on for a long time. I have no idea what they would expect. I'm kind of sad I didn't, because, this is something I'd expect myself to be able to guess. But the fact that I didn't see it coming, God, I wish I had. Essentially, we see Naruto pull what he calls the reverse harem no jutsu on Kaguya, whatever, the sage's, six-path sage's mother. I can't even pronounce her name, and I've heard it a couple times. What is it, Kaguya? Whatever. The point is that this woman, and Naruto makes a great point about it, saying that the more powerful they are, usually the more perverted they are. And this turns out to be true in Kaguya's case, whatever her name is. She freaking reacts to it. Massive nosebleed, blown away. Freaking sure, she's stoked about it. But the fact of the matter is, she did react because apparently even someone who is basically a god, and this woman is essentially a god, not the god. There's only one god, but this woman falls pretty close. She gets sent flying by a nosebleed, and it's like, holy, I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect that, and that was by far one of my favorite moments in the series, because it's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Brilliant, great, classic Naruto style, and it's downright genius on Kishimoto's part in the writing. You expect something big, you expect something grand. What? You didn't expect that. That is good. That is very good. Moving on. I'm going to make my last few points very soon. What was I going to say? Yes, after all of that, we'll move on. I'll get to what I think is the story as a whole. But right now we're going to talk about the thing I think I'm most happy about. Chapters 699 and chapter 700, the last official chapter in the story of Naruto, and the epilogue telling us what happened a couple years later. What happens is pretty simple, but pretty interesting. We have in 699, we have Naruto and Sasuke. Their fight is finally over, and we see once again they have lost their arms. That one caught me by surprise, really. I didn't see it coming, but honestly, great touch. It's great, honestly. Neither of them died, and I half expected, since Naruto is usually just going on his word, but it's more like, while he said they would both die, and instead it's more like, we either both die or we both live. In this case, not only did they live, but Sasuke finally came back, and that was one thing. Well, I was always worried about Naruto keeping his word in this case when it came to, because when Sasuke actually did go to the Sound Village at the end of part 1, I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised, because Naruto, being the guy who always kept his word, I expected him to pull it off. But I did not expect him to take, I did not expect him to take nearly 4 years to do so. But eventually, he did it. Got Sasuke back. He brought him back. Now, we don't know exactly if Sasuke is in fact officially an Elite Ninja again, but Naruto did return his headband, which was touching. It was beautiful. I admit I did not. I kind of had to guess. So many people probably did, but I wasn't entirely sure that it was a headband because you barely see it. But Naruto, being the kind of guy, kept his brother's headband all the time, and despite everything everybody says, the best friends. No, to me, Naruto and Sasuke will always be brothers, man. And that's a simple fact. Now, in this case, I was more than happy with this, especially since we got to see, besides, Sasuke's point of views most of the fight, and his ideas when he decided to become a Kage and then said he was going to start a revolution, and to kill Naruto to do it. But when we heard his entire thought during that last chapter, 699, it was great because, we got to see his perspective, understand him on a higher level, see that he made development. And the little Itachi poke on the forehead he gave Sakura, saying he'll see her when he gets back from his trip. Not only was it a great Sasu moment, but friggin' hell, when I saw the Itachi reference, it's like, oh my god, Sasuke, you son of a bitch, you learned something from him after all. Because it's like, for a long time, Sasuke ignored what Itachi said completely, but at this point, he finally saw something and used it to his advantage by finally getting this woman, who I believe that Sasuke, being the kind of guy he was, didn't so much not feel emotions to this caliber, but was trying to ignore them the same way he tried to ignore his feelings for Naruto as his friend and his brother. So he may have, if only an inkling of something, because since he didn't really understand love as well, because of his being depraved of it for so long and feeling nothing but hate, as he himself states, made it difficult for him to feel, really notice the feelings he had for Sakura, and thus could not express them properly until that point, in which case, and I'm gonna keep claiming this until the day I die, Sasuke, you dumbass, took you long enough. But great moment, and then of course we finish with Sasuke and Naruto, who, they brothers, and they exchanging that headband, and they together, Finally, we get to the full chapter, full color final chapter epilogue. And God, God, my God. Not only is it my favorite chapter on so many levels, but it has so many things that I love about it. It's like, and let me explain. How do I put this? Well, I have so many things about it I like. If you hear people talking in the background, ignore it, please. Yeah, sorry about that. What a bunch of dumbasses. Anyway, my final thoughts again on that last chapter, the epilogue. I feel okay, finally. Now, here's the thing about this. I waited weeks up until the point where the final chapter epilogue came out to actually read, and I was probably, oh god, what was it? I must have been 20 chapters, maybe 30 behind to the present tense, so I probably was somewhere around 670 or something when I started reading this, because what I like to do is wait weeks at a time for the chapters to build up, so I read them in succession. So, and I tried to cut myself off from it, ignore something, give it a couple weeks, ignore the whole series for a while, so I did not see any spoilers beforehand. So unlike most of you who when they read chapter 700, I was completely and utterly surprised in every way. pleasantly surprised. Some of the couplings weren't really that surprising. You know, the pairings finally happening and shipping finally succeeding. God, you have no idea how happy that made me. But honest to God, everything else, the kids, you know, the whole time skip thing, future. Now, for instance, when I first read the opening page I saw was at the Ninja Academy, I figured, oh man, it must be the present, a lesson. Someone's telling them about the war that happened recently. Well, in fact, it wasn't recently, it was more than a decade ago. I figured at least, oh man, maybe someone just, like, you know, little whole story of Naruto was just someone telling a history lesson. Because again, when I first saw the dude with the, I'm gonna call him Cyclops glasses, just because, you know, the visor, Cyclops visor, kind of looks a lot like the one worn by the character Cyclops from the X-Men. But disregarding that, you know, the fact of the matter is that it caught me totally by surprise. Now, it wasn't until I saw the back of a certain young ninja student's head, blonde, somewhat spiky hair, that I heard someone refer to the teacher as Aburame Sensei. It wasn't until later I saw the bugs on his collar, his collar, indicating, you know, the whole bug significant of the Aburame clan. But it's like, holy shit! And then was realizing, this kid, holy crap, no, wait. And again, I saw the blonde head, but it took me a second to catch up and realize, holy shit, this is Naruto's kid. And again, I had no idea, unlike so many others, that, you know, I didn't see the leaked pictures. I didn't know, you know, I had no idea that this was gonna be how it ended. So, but immediately when I heard Aburame Sensei, it's like, oh my God, Shino. I knew it was Shino. You know, underappreciated, but God, he is a great character. He's underappreciated. He wasn't used to his full potential. And in this case, you really can't tell, because it's like, majority of the other characters, they had kids at this point. It's like, Shino. So it's like, and it's like, wow, Shino, you are, Shino. So that's when I knew. And then, of course, we jump to the next page, and what do we see? We see Bolt, as most of us call him, Bolt Uzumaki, although I'd like to, again, until it's confirmed that Naruto still uses the Uzumaki name, I'd like to think that at some point he legally changed his name. And if you're wondering why I'm moving right now, I'll explain in a second. Now, essentially, it's like, because I'd like to think at some point he took his father's name at some point, legally becoming Naruto Namikaze, as he always should have been, though we have no confirmation of that. But until that point, I'd like to think that. I'd also like to think that this new, clearly a clan symbol on the back of Bolt's jacket is in fact the Namikaze clan symbol, but again, we don't know quite yet, but I'd like to believe that. So until I get a confirmation telling me otherwise, or confirmation confirming my theory, I'm going to, just leave that. So, anyway, Bolt being a troublemaker and a prankster, I'm not surprised by that. I was entertained, to the least. However, while a lot of people say that he's a carbon copy of his dad, that's not the case. He has different, it's like Naruto, he has the whiskers, but he only has 2 on each cheek instead of 3. Minor difference, but still. His eyes are a little bit different, not a word. But he clearly resembles Hinata, only a little bit. And he clearly has different hair, which I think kind of, it always instead of reminding me like a plant, I think people have said it looks kind of like a flower or something, or like a leaf. To me, Bolt's head, or Baruto, which is apparently Bolt in Japanese, and it's only one character difference from Naruto, or here in the West, we have, 2-letter difference. B-O instead of N-A. But I prefer Bolt, mostly because, I don't know, Boruto sounds weird to me, I don't know. But the thing about it is that, some people say that Bolt is a carbon copy of Naruto. No, he's different. He's got different clothes. He looks a little different, and while he does have a similar personality, he is not quite Naruto. Though again, father like son, but not quite so. However, you want a carbon copy of someone, you want somebody who is a carbon copy of their parent, of their father. Then look at Shikamaru and, big spoiler here, Tamari's son, Shikadai. Nara. It's like, holy crap. It's like, whoa. Because it's like, he literally looks just like, he's even wearing the exact same clothes Shikamaru wore in part 1. He looks just like Shikamaru. The only difference in appearance is the eyes, which he got from his mother, which if some people pay attention realize that both Gaara and Tamari have those green eyes, but Shikamaru passed on the looks and the personality. Apparently, the kid got his mother's eyes. Oh God. So as you can imagine, what a surprise. I mean, come on. And like, if there's one coupling that didn't surprise me, because I was a little worried there. I'm a Naruhina and a Sasusaku fan. I was a little worried there about those two couples. I was a little afraid they were going to go with the Narusaku route. Saku Naru. Wasn't sure. But I'm glad that Kishimoto went this way, because it's like Hinata and Naruto perfect together. Sasuke, Sakura also perfect together, as far as I'm concerned. Now, the one couple, though, that was obvious and that I saw coming, and we all saw coming from my way, was Shikamaru and Tamari. Because, let's face it, Shikatema was confirmed from the moment those two met during the first Chunin exams. I mean, it's like, yeah, sexual tension, more obvious than anything else I've ever seen in my life. Scary, actually, really. I mean, God, the two are perfect together. I mean, really. And for those crazy enough, and I mean crazy enough, I don't mean to offend, but let's face it, Ino and Shikamaru were more like siblings than anything else. They weren't going to end up together. Though I was pleasantly surprised at it, because I figured they hinted at it, and I kind of liked this idea from the beginning, but I did not expect them to put Ino and Sai together. I was pleasantly surprised by this. Very pleasantly surprised. I just didn't expect that to happen. But in the end, I took it, and I was totally happy with it. Especially since they, and here's a misconception that appears to be going on a lot, and it's this. There are two actually misconceptions that I've been trying to clear up, besides the obvious fact that Shino is clearly the new academy instructor. It's clearly Shino, that's all I gotta say on that matter, but there are two gender specified things I'd like to clear up for you all. Simple. I'll explain. Ignore my roommate in the background. Just ignore him, please. He's sleeping, so I can. But if I'm a little quiet right now, it's because I'm trying to not to wake him or anything. Now, a lot of people make this mistake, but Inojin, the child of Ino and Sai, is in fact a dude, a boy. I don't know why. This seems to be the common misconception in that area, and that is that they had a girl. It's the ponytail, right? I mean, honestly, I wasn't entirely sure myself. Was it a boy or girl? I didn't completely concern myself, but I looked it up later. Inojin's a boy. Definitely a boy. But if that... Now, the one couple that totally actually surprised me, though, going back to this whole shipping thing, and I was pleasantly surprised, because I actually like this idea. It's unexpected out there, but it weirdly makes sense to me, is that... And that would be Choji and Karui, which happened out of the blue, like nothing I've ever seen before. And it's like, whoa, Didn't see that coming. Explains the, the big-boned, dark-skinned girl from earlier. She was black, and I was like, whoa, was that Choji's kid? Who the hell did he get with? And it's like, my mind immediately went Cloud Village, but who? And I did not expect them to go, but then again, I'm glad that they didn't introduce anybody new. They just had already established characters. So not only did, also, a lot of the character designs in this chapter for the, everybody got, they grow up, and, besides the characters, I have to take a breath. Okay, yeah, sometimes I forget to breathe. I mean that, I forget to breathe. Insanity does that to you. It takes away some of your faculties. You gotta be careful with that. Essentially, what happens here, besides the pleasant surprise of Choji, Karui, the fact of the matter is that Choji looks, and you can, besides this, another development, minor, you can see Sai smiling at Ino in a way, but you can also tell he's nervous because of her. She's clearly pissed, and he doesn't want that anger to be directed at him. It's clear that Sai has fully developed emotions at this point, and that he is, you can tell he loves her. He's trying to not step in them eggshells, and like any husband should, so to speak. Now, in Choji's case, I'm again pleasantly surprised. He's also a little nervous around his wife. I think it's, it's interesting. When you look at it, it actually is very interesting because both Shikamaru and Choji married foreign women from different villages, which not only strengthened the alliances with these two individual villages, but especially since both females were very close, one specifiedly related to the new Kazekage, and while Darui, spoiler, ended up as the Raikage, it's never specified whether those two are brother and sister, as I always speculate. I always thought they were brother and sister, and they always saw. Hell, they're literally only one letter away from having the same name. K and D. Darui and Karu. And it's like, how are those two not related? They're literally one letter. I mean, come on. That's the kind of stuff people do when they have twins. But I mean, come on. How are they not related? I just don't know. But again, moving on, Choji looks badass. I love, he's not quite as round as he was as a child, but he's grown into that girth, got a nice little goatee, kind of looks like Kevin Smith. He's chubbier, got that goatee, longer hair, and he looks badass. Kind of like a Viking, if you ask me, like a Viking of old. Just put a horned helmet and on his head an axe, double-edged axe in his hand, boom, he's a Viking. But he looks badass. And despite how weird Shino looks, I do in fact like his look because it's not only totally something I can see Shino doing, but it's actually kind of cool because I've always been into sci-fi and that looks very sci-fi. Speaking of technology, we'll move on from the characters for a second. Let's say technology. They not only built skyscrapers, an entire freaking metropolis. Now, this part is actually easier for me to believe, because out of all of the technological developments, the fact that they could do this does not surprise me nearly as much, because they got a city on top of the Hokage monument, and I can believe that. Mount Ninjamore, now totally got a freaking, new Konoha behind it, Looks like freaking Manhattan. But the one that I find hard to believe, well, maybe not hard to believe, because it's like, but the one that's a little bit more out there for me is the fact that when we finally see Naruto, even if it's not clearly him, well, it's clearly him, but we don't see his face, we see him on a laptop. A freaking laptop. We have never seen computers in Naruto. I don't remember a computer ever being in Naruto. Now, I've got no issue with this. Time has passed, it's possible. And it's a freaking MacBook, which is, in fact, what I'm using now, for this whole thing. But the fact of the matter is, it's a Mac. That's not important. The fact that it's a computer, a laptop of all things. If it was an old desktop, the kind from back in the late, back before laptops were a thing, I might not find it as weird, but it's like, that's a lot of technological advancement in a very short period of time. It's been shown, if you consider certain factors canon, such as and again, it's been shown in certain episodes, fillers specifically, and other stuff, that movies do exist in Naruto, and that televisions exist. While there was the electronics, it wasn't a TV per se, there was the electronic screen, which was the first, I think, granted you see power lines all over Konoha early on, and you see technology here and there, but the first real piece of technology you see in Naruto, at least in my memory, is the screen in the tuning exam preliminaries that shows randomly the competitors in the battles. So it's like, whoa, okay, first big piece of technology. But during a certain, and again, I don't remember this happening in the anime, but again, my memory but in the manga, during the tuning exams, they should, while Anko's talking to the third Hokage, Horizon, they're talking about the whole Orochimaru thing and how she confronted him. They look at a security video. I think it's something to do with Team 7, but it's clearly being played on a television. And Horizon plays it. It's a friggin' VHS tape. He puts it into a VCR. Now, granted, Naruto was first published in 1999 when VCRs were, still, was actually used a lot. Common thing, actually, back then, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I was very young back then, but I'm pretty sure, in fact, I'm positive VHS were still big then. Vague memories, but again. So, that's believable, but somehow, looking at the span between the events of the tuning exam then, and what happens in the epilogue of Naruto, I can only say that at most, that was something like maybe 15, 20 years between these two events, and seeing it that way, you have to think, I don't know, I don't know how long it took for the laptop to be developed, but considering we never saw a different kind of computer, I find that just a little bit weird. If I had seen a computer earlier, or something, I don't know. I'm not an expert, I can't be sure, but I do think it's weird that they suddenly have computers, I do also think it's awesome because they got tech. Now the ninjas got internet. Hell, they probably got, ninja websites. Oh, the ninja, you can do amazing things with the internet, and I guarantee you that the ninja aren't no different. They're going to use this to their advantage. Spying, Jiraiya's way, it's probably a thing of the past. Internet makes spying so much easier. Oh, the things they can do. Who knows? Ninja porn. Hell, technically Jiraiya's books were ninja porn, but except that who knows, we don't know if there were actual ninjas in the books, except for the first one, which was not porn technically, and technically the other ones weren't porn either. They were erotic literature. But the point is, ninja porn. You know that someone's doing it, someone's making movies based on the ninja of this world, in their world, and you know what? Hell, we do it here, they probably do it there too. And you know what? Considering what people can do with jutsu, kind of scary when you think about it, actually. Moving on because I think I've talked about this. Get sidetracked. Where was I earlier? Oh yeah, characters looking cool. Characters looking so cool. Now, Naruto looks awesome because he's still wearing orange. I've read a lot of fan fiction. So often do people get rid of the orange completely in Naruto's outfits when they decide to change his. And granted, his part 1 outfit was kind of dorky. It wouldn't have been as dorky, maybe not dorky, but just didn't look so good if he zipped down the jacket. If he just wore it open, it wouldn't have looked as ridiculous, kind of, but that is that. And the point is that more often than not, they get rid of the orange, but you know what? Naruto without orange, it just ain't right. It really isn't. I can't imagine him without orange, and I like that. I actually like it. So it's like... So the fact that even in the future, where he's got clear black shinobi pants, he's wearing the sandals, the fact that he's wearing, he's got his weird, looks like it's bandaged, but it's a Hashirama cell hand, he's got the white cloak with the flames on top, clearly based on his dad's old cloak, he's got he can wear the Hokage hat now, because he's Hokage, 7 Hokage, that's great. So anybody who read it and heard that He stepped down from Kiba. That was a typo. A total typo. He meant Kakashi. The point is, he looks great. He looks totally awesome. Majority of the characters do. We do see Sasuke briefly in this chapter as well. Looks like freaking Madara. Granted, Naruto kind of also looks like Hashirama too. If you gave Naruto long hair, I think he actually would pass for Madara in this case. Well, not Madara. Sasuke looks like Madara. Naruto looks like Hashirama. But, you know, granted, Naruto had longer hair, but I mean, like, if Naruto's hair wasn't all wild and crazy and defying gravity and stuff, when it was long, then if you gave him flat, flowing, almost girlish hair that Hashirama has, seriously, dude, granted, yeah, Haku looked more like a girl, but still, dude, too girly with the hair. 1 second. I need to take a rest between talking. It's like, whoa. Okay. Where was I again? Oh yeah. Right. Oh yeah. Hashirama's hair is girly. Yeah, I know, but he's the first Hokage. He's cool. He is cool. I love him. Great personality. Kind of weird, kind of goofy, but awesome, strong. And I like his views a lot on life and on being ninja and all that, but it's like, dude, get a haircut. You look like a woman. I don't know, I guess Mito Uzumaki, whom he married and had kids with, and then apparently grandchildren, you know, and we see in Tsunade and her poor deceased brother Nuwaki. May you rest in peace, Nuwaki. I like you, though your rosy cheeks always kind of freak me out a bit. Just a bit. Just something about him. I mean, makes him look really probably younger than he was. Who knows? Point is, Hashirama, get a freaking haircut. I mean, really. Granted, you clearly died young. Probably not young as some people like say, Milwaukee, but freaking hell. Get a haircut. Even Haku didn't look. I mean, granted, yeah, Haku had a much more feminine face, but your hair is long and flowing, and it makes me uncomfortable. You're always going to be cool, Hashirama, but you can do it with a shorter hair. The point is, Naruto, if you gave him the long flowing hair, I think he'd look a lot like Hashirama, the same way Madara, you know, Sasuke looks like Madara now because he's got that weird hair thing with the covering his eye, looking scarily like Madara, though thankfully Madara for an Uchiha was not nearly as calm. He had a very, or at least when he saw Hashirama. Now, people have been saying that Naruto and Sasuke had this gay undertone for years, but honestly, if you want to point the homosexual finger, not that there's anything wrong with that, at two same-sex individuals in the Naruto universe, go with Hashirama and Madara, because, come on. The dude got so excited when he saw Hashirama that it was practically orgasmic, to the same point where people consider in the Revenge of the Sith, where the Emperor, you know, Palpatine, when he's still just Chancellor, is revealing he's the Sith, and that, you know, Anakin is going to try and kill him, and he's asking if he wants to, blah, blah, blah. You can tell he's turned on by it. Fuck, it's the same thing. The two are remarkably comparable, Madara and Palpatine. They have a lot in common, actually. Not everything, but they do have more than a few things in common. Now, as I was saying, people have awesome designs in the series. Naruto, Sasuke, Choji, they all got these revives. Gino looking pretty good. The women look good. Like Hinata, she's a full-blown woman now, not just this mousy girl. She's got her confidence finally. She's looking good with her daughter, visiting Uncle Neji. May you rest in peace, Neji. I love you, man. I love you so much. It's like, holy, but I think personally, the best design revived because it like really does something for him is Kiba. Speaking of Kiba, anybody else feel bad that Akamaru is, while amazingly still alive, ninja dogs, man? They apparently live much longer than normal ones. I gotta get me a ninja dog. Aw, yeah. But freaking hell,
Akamaru is geriatric and old, and he may pass soon. He clearly had puppies, but Akamaru, don't die. I don't care if you keep getting more and more decrepit, you will not die. You'll live like Unuki, who is also freaking old and looks like he's gonna keel over at any moment. He's shivering with his craziness. I mean, really, Unuki should be dead. Look at the dude. He should be dead. And yet he lives. Anybody else think that, Akamaru, I can believe he's a ninja thing, but Unuki was like, the man was like gotta be in his 80s or 90s when the war was happening. At least a decade has passed since then. The dude is like over 100. He looks like he could keel over at any second. It's scary. His face is sagging in ways I don't even want to think about. Also, speaking of things, well, Onoke is probably 100 at least. Maybe at least he's somewhere in his 90s at this point. And, still amazingly alive. Tsunade, of course, she's not gonna die. She's got Senju DNA, she's great medical ninja. But the thing about it is she, as usual, despite at this point clearly having been somewhere in her 70s, at least, looks younger than she did when she was 50. In which case she looked, when she was in earlier in the series, when she's in 50, when she's the Hokage, she looks a lot like somebody who is only just about to reach 30, like mid to late 20s. Whereas in the epilogue, the woman looked like she was, and she looked better actually. She looked like she might have been in her late teens to early 20s. And I gotta tell you, I got nothing against that, but Tsunade, what do you look like as an old woman? I don't care about Kakashi's face, because at this point, it's great. We're never going to see his face. I don't care. He probably looks like his dad. The mask is his face. I'm used to it. I don't care if they ever reveal his face. If they ever reveal his face, I think I'll be pissed. But Tsunade, what do you look like? I actually want to know. Yeah, you're probably wrinkly. You probably age not nearly as well as apparently Orochimaru and freaking Jiraiya, who despite being, same age as you, look damn good, actually. To be fair, one is psychotically experimenting. Jiraiya has no excuse. He has actually suffered age problems, mostly because of his experience with the ninja vices, as it were. But freaking hell, what do you look like, woman? What do you look like? As usual, I keep getting sidetracked. This is how I am. But where was I going with this? Yes. One person I'm really happy with the design of, besides, again, I'm sad Akamaru is old, but Kiba has, one of the best new designs just because he looks like a werewolf with the beard and the longer, slick back hair, and then the fangs are more prominent, and then he just kind of looks beast, man. He literally looks beast. But the reason I'm talking about Kiba, besides the fact that I dig his new design, is this. Now, he's one of the few characters who clearly doesn't have a kid. However, he's also, like so many others, he's been paired up. Looking into it, I found out that the girl he's shown in one or two panels with, he's living with her. And if you pay attention, the cats are around. He's a dog person. There's puppies. And there's Akamaru. Long live Akamaru. But the cats are this chick. Now let me explain this, however. So many people haven't realized exactly who she is. And while I, like so many others, I'm looking it up right now because I can't remember who she is specifically, so I'm going to just go to the Narutopedia. It's pretty much a wiki about Naruto specifically, and so has the information I need to explain this to you. I don't remember it specifically because it's been a while, but I just recently reread, because I've read chapter 700 at least 10 times, maybe more, I don't know. Let's see. But essentially, this girl is actually been in the series, been featured in Naruto before. She was in filler and was featured only once before, so it's understandable that nobody remembers who she is. But I'm about to read to you. Well, give me a second. Okay, breathe. I know. It could be rather daunting listening to a guy talk for as long as I have in the way I do, but I'm tired. Yeah, I gotta go to bed after this. Alright. Give me a second. Just give me a second. You would not expect this to be nearly as hard. Whoa. Damn. I just saw something I forgot about, and I'm important. Give me a second. Man, this is... Wow. Okay. Wait, I almost there. This is taking long. There it is. Sorry, it took me a second. Give me a second. Now, as I was saying, the point is that the girl that Kiba's seen with, she is a specific character. She is now apparently, you know, Kiba's girlfriend, living with him and, all Akamaru's puppies, and her cats. Now, if a cat girl does not sound familiar to you people, then I'm slightly disappointed. While I didn't remember or recognize her on sight or anything, I did remember that such a character existed and was pleasantly surprised by who, because it's actually kind of clever. Tamake is a young girl who works at a shop in an abandoned city along with her grandmother, Nico Ba. They live with a lot of cats. Apparently that hasn't changed, though now she lives and is in a relationship with Kiba. Cat girl with dog boy. I've heard weirder. Case in point. Karui and Shoji. I'm still pleasantly surprised by that one, but I still think that that's the weirder of the two. And including a talking Nico such as Denka and Hina. Yeah, talking cats. Personality. In the anime, Tamaki wished she had a crush on Sasuke when she was a child, though Naruto Uzumaki mistakenly believed she had a crush on him. That kind of figures. Let's see. When Sasuke and his team went to shop in order to stock up on items for their battle against Itachi Uchiha, she attempted to find clothes for Jugo. She reprimands her grandmother for telling her to wrap him in a curtain. I don't know. It kind of fits Jugo. I mean, dude's almost beast-like. I can see him barely wearing any clothes like that. He's just like a gentle giant, kind of. But then there's also the fact that he also could pass for one of those ancient Romans or Greeks in a toga, I'm just saying. In the anime, it was shown that Team 7 was assigned to collect the last paw print for the Paw Encyclopedia, which brought her grandmother. Also, her grandmother helped Team 7 by lending them the cat ears to sneak into the cat fortress of Nico Mata. I'm glad that particular... Well, it is filler, technically, or at least I hope it's filler, because I don't remember that being part of the manga. But the point is that I'm glad that it's filler, because if that was a canon idea that Kishimoto came up with, and I don't know if he has anything to do with it. I hope not. Kind of, granted, he did write the last chapter, so he decided for whatever reason to use her, and I'm glad about that. It's just that, while we consider, I don't know, Team 7 going on a mission to collect a cat paw print. Granted, if I'm not mistaken, it was the True Tails paw print, aka the giant blue flaming cat, whose Jinchuriki was a cloud ninja who got killed by the Akatsuki. I mean, that was in fact the part where we got introduced to Hidan and Kakazu, who again killed Asuma. Just saying. Oh yeah, right. I actually never fully explained that. I got sidetracked again. Like I said, Inojin, child of Sai, and Ino is a boy. But as it turns out, it's a surprising amount of people mistake the child of Asuma and Kurenai as a boy, because in fact, this case, it's the reverse. It's a girl. Now, granted, the boy-like appearance, or rather, effeminate, pretty boy-like appearance, but it's in fact of pure feminine appearance because it's a girl. Because if you pay attention to that one scene where she is leaving to go and be late, because it's okay to be late when it involves Kakashi, to follow around Kakashi and Guy for whatever reason, they're clearly going on their nostalgic tour, as mentioned in that last chapter. it's clear to me it's a girl because she got boobies. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I'm a little uncomfortable with this. She had breasts. She clearly had breasts. It's very clear. I can't say it anymore. It's a girl. Look into it yourselves. It's a girl. I'm sorry, it just kind of irritates me that so many people didn't realize this. What is also an interesting little factor is that while many people compare, and it's clearly why, because they are remarkably similar, that Bolt painted the Hokage Maru the same way his dad did in the first chapter, a lot of people made a interesting that failed to realize the similarities between the first statements made by Naruto in this case and the third Hokage made in both situations because the two statements were remarkably similar. In fact, if you follow the anime version, the English dubbed anime version, the words, while they're similar in the manga, but the 700 chapter and the first episode of the in fact in the of the anime English dub is in fact almost identical. In the case of Naruto, he says, so, let me guess, did Bolt do something again? So, and of course he did. In this case, it's in fact, in the first episode of the anime, or at least I'm positive this is exactly how it went because the third Hokage, I'm almost positive, said this. Two guys coming to him because of something, and he's painting, and he says, again, I don't know. It's like when I read the word Saya, I know what it is, but I don't like reading it. I prefer the actual physical thing. I know you can't do that when you're writing, but it's like, I just don't like it because it's like, as a word. I mean, as a name for Sai, the character, that's good. As an action, not so much. So let me try it again. Let me guess. Naruto again. And I'm pretty sure that's how it was said in the English. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched the first episode of the anime chapter. So it's like, but I'm pretty sure those two are almost identical. The point is, that's just one of those little things that Kishimoto does, and I thought it was brilliant. And I liked it. However, here's another interesting one. Dear old Bolt painted every individual member of the Hokages, and this is 7 Hokages. Since at this point we've had 2 more, in the span of 2 chapters, no less. We get an individual insult for each of them. For Hashirama, idiot. Tobirama, dork. I disagree, but whatever. Horizon is pervy. Honestly, that one's kind of easy to understand. I mean, really, I'm not even going to bother explaining, but then again, I didn't explain the other 2. But the point is, this one is even less worth explaining, because it's like, come on, we all know that he was reading Noel Draz books. Okay, I kind of explained it. Never mind. Of course, and Minoto is Geezer. That one kind of makes sense, because it's like, he's a geezer. He's actually Bolt's grandfather, so I can kind of see that would make sense to put Geezer, on his head. Finally, we have Tsunade, who's old hack. Self-explanatory, more or less. Kakashi, 6 Hokage. I love that fact, though I kind of wish he was the 5th Hokage instead, because I get why Tsunade was needed at the time, but it's like, she's older than Kakashi. That kind of annoys me a bit. But whatever, I get why. So, at the time he didn't have... I think it's perfect that he's the, 6th Hokage, really, in the end. I just kind of wish he was the 5th. But whatever. However, instead of drawing an insult or a word, instead he paints, and this is funny, he gives what look to be lips and a mouth and teeth on Kakashi's face, because again, they even put instead of putting his actual face, we see, the mask. If they ever do reveal it, I'm going to be a little pissed, but, at this point, because that's how we know Kakashi, and I don't need to see his face at this point. But the fact of the matter is, that Bolt drew lips on him. Drew lips and a mouth and everything. It's kind of funny, and they, lopsided as they were, the fact of the matter is that he literally freaking put a mouth, it's fun. It's just kind of funny, I think. Finally, when we get to Naruto, we get the most interesting drawings, though. Both because Bolt actually painted on his father, shitty old man, which, you know, understandable. I mean, totally under the circumstances, understandable. But on his head, what does he do? We see, a certain straw-hatted Jolly Roger. And you know what is interesting besides this? Is that in every other video, people seem to struggle to describe it. And I guess why, but honestly, they couldn't quite describe what it was. Because we all know it's the Straw Hat Jolly Roger. But none of them could remember that it was a Jolly Roger. Instead, they just kept calling it the Skull and Crossbones, the logo, Skull and Crossbones. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a Jolly Roger. It's the Straw Hat Jolly Roger from One Piece. Nice little shout out from Kishi to Oda, you know, and all the fans telling them to go read One Piece. But God, how is it that nobody could get Jolly Roger? I've only ever seen one other person who seems to actually recognize that's what it is. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. The point is that, you know, that I thought that was interesting. That was brilliant. Like I said, when I was turned out Toby and Fake Madara, but you know, was Obito, had a shitstorm of happiness. Same thing here, ending, actually pretty much the entirety of chapter 700, I had a shitstorm of happiness, but this moment in particular stood out to me as the biggest shitload of happiness ever. Just fact, I enjoyed it so much. So, but let's get to the main point. One thing I think besides the fact that, you know, Naruto's Hokage, you know, Kakashi was 6th Hokage, you know, and all that, and everything else that happened, and the fact that Sasuke was pardoned, and you know what, not only was he pardoned, but they pointed out exactly why he was pardoned, and the fact that under any other circumstances, he wouldn't be. So that kind of made me happy. But above all else, the thing that made me happy was the pairings. Honest to God, having majority of my pairings confirmed. Naruhina. I wouldn't say I have an OTP because I have a tendency to pair so many people. If they're not in a relationship already, I have a tendency to pair people with people I feel they're best suited for. So it's like, I mean, we all do, but unlike having like so many others who have a specific pairing they favor, I favor so many pairings that they're all at the same level to me. So in this case, I was more than happy to see that all the pairings I loved, all of my multiple OTPs were totally, you know, all of them were more or less together. Naruhina, Saku, Shigatema, you know, Inosai, which again was one of my lesser pairings in my, again, I love them all, but that one I didn't entirely see coming, so I was pleasantly surprised, but I was especially surprised because I not only didn't consider it, but I was more than happy to see the Karui Choji pairing, because it's like, out of nowhere, but it's brilliant in the end. What I also like is that we see Sakura briefly, she finally has boobs. Again, I'm uncomfortable saying this, but let's face it, Sakura's been somewhat flat-chested forever, so the fact that she finally has breasts is kind of a relief because it's kind of scary. Just saying. Now, the reason I'm focusing on pairings, because I'm about to end this video, the reason I'm focusing on pairings specifically is this. And this alone. It's the fact that Kishimoto has unintentionally given us a new pairing. The little fool doesn't know what he's done. Excuse me. There are, of course, a great deal of pairings from the show that I never saw happen that I wish did. Like, for instance, the one that never got realized and was never even a possibility, but I would have loved to have seen. And that is, and again, I only saw this, it's been done in one fanfiction, not another, but I would love to have seen this become canon, though there really was no way this could have worked out in any way, at least the way Kishimoto wrote it. And that is, wow. I don't remember her name, and I'm a little embarrassed that I don't, but Kiba's sister with Itachi. Because as I mentioned earlier, Itachi's my favorite character, and I don't know, something about the idea of Kiba's sister and Itachi makes sense to me. I don't know why, because I barely remember anything about the sister at all. Don't even remember her name, but I loved Itachi, and something about that idea just kind of screws with the mind. Maybe just because of how, how much Kiba would be uncomfortable at the same time, but at the same time he would be trying to screw with Sasuke because of it, and Sasuke would just hate the whole thing completely, and we all know he wouldn't. That would be great. Granted, he has enough problems with Itachi before he figured out why Itachi really killed the clan, but God, that would be hilarious. Granted, mostly because I read this one fan fiction about it. Look it up. It's a good story. One or two, that and one other couple, which I always wanted to see, but is definitely not a possibility now, despite how much it would have been great. Anko and Kakashi. I honestly wanted to see those two together, but no longer a possibility now. No longer. Mostly because, well, I got nothing against it. Anko's been indulging in those sweets, and she's grown a little chubby. I don't mind that. I like a little meat on my women, but God, too much. And it just wouldn't work out. Plus, I've heard rumors that Kakashi is apparently in a relationship with Shizune, which I kind of think is weird, and I'm not into that. If there was one pairing that I wasn't into, that apparently might be a thing, because I've heard it was, but I don't know if it is, it's those two. Just not into the idea at all. It's me, but, I just don't like it. Whatever. Ignoring that for just a second, we move on to a couple other things. What else would we move on to? How about... This is a little bit more difficult than I imagined. Ooh, okay, give me a second. What was I talking about? I can be such a doof sometimes. Although, to be fair, I'm tired. Because I hope you guys appreciate this, because I am exhausted. But anyway, majority of the couples, so happy with. As I was saying, Kishimoto unintentionally gave us a new coupling, a pairing. I hope you slimy little cow trotters realize the potential this has, because this is brilliant and awesome, and I am so backing it. Bolt, aka Baruto, Uzumaki, Namikaze, because again, I don't know, still like to think that Naruto took his dad's name legally just because something about it feels so right in my mind. And Sarada, whatever version of the name, I personally prefer Sarada, but daughter of Sakura and Sasuke, Sarada Uchiha. You bet I am backing it. There are so many reasons why, besides the potential for hilarity when they start dating and Sasuke and Naruto's reactions. Naruto is going to be so proud, and he's going to hold it over Sasuke forever, but at the same time, Sasuke is going to be overprotective, he's going to be pissed, and he's going to be freaking, and probably going to maim and possibly castrate Bolt, but at the same time totally try to kill Naruto again. And this time, he's going to do it with a reason I consider slightly more legitimate than his old ones. Just saying. If I had to choose Sasuke trying to kill Naruto for his so-called revolution, or for Naruto's kid trying to bone his daughter, God, I can't believe I just said that, but the point is, yeah, for trying to date Sarada, yeah, I choose that second one, mostly because I can sympathize with the idea, because I'm overprotective, I got a sister, I feel that way, and if I ever have a daughter, I'll probably feel that way too. Just something to say. The point is that, love it, I ship them. If there is a part 3 about the next generation, I've heard that, so many rumors, I'm not entirely sure. I know we are getting a part 3, but what exactly the part 3 is about, I don't know yet. But the point is that I so am shipping them together, because there's so much greatness in this idea. Plus, Sarada is pretty much stalked Bolt the same way Hinata stalked Naruto. Granted, she's not shy, she just decided, just weirdo. Whereas Naruto thought Hinata was weird, but really she was just shy and lacked the confidence to go after him with the way her alternate universe counterpart did in the Road to Ninja movie. Scary, but hot at the same time. But the point is, Sarada doesn't lack confidence. She's just clearly in denial, like the same way her father was in denial for the feelings for her mother Sakura, and in denial of his feelings as a brother towards Naruto. So, my thoughts, totally legit. Insanity is overrated. I feel sorry for all you people who consider sanity important and all that. Insanity is definitely, insanity. I don't even know if I said that right, so I'm going to repeat myself to make sure I get it right this time. Sanity is overrated. I feel sorry for you people who haven't experienced insanity to the fullest. Please comment, subscribe, all that. Give this one a thumbs up. I'm trying to do stuff like this more often. I'm doing this in honor of Naruto. Love it. Happy with the series as a whole. Great thing. Can't wait until the part 3. Can't wait until I get an English dubbed. Probably won't happen for like another 15 years of the Naruto, the last Naruto the movie. Should get about a year until we get a sub version at least, and I can't wait because I want to watch it. I want to see how the whole Naruto Hinata thing finally fully developed into the beauty it is now. And I am happy to present this to you, the fans, like myself. Humble. Kishi Senpai, I love you, and I hope, that you're doing well. Hope it wasn't too hard on you supporting us fans for so long. So thank you, Kishi Senpai, for everything you've done. And to your friendly rival and my, the great Oda Sensei, please, we all love One Piece. But don't take, whereas Naruto took 15 years, One Piece is going for 17, and we still don't see an end in sight. So don't take another 17 years. Take another half a decade at least. Maybe 7 years. 7 years at the most. But don't take another decade. Don't take another because it's been nearly 2 decades since One Piece came out. So please, take your time, but don't take too much. And don't pass away before it's done. And I don't want to, it would be awesome. I don't want to have to wait until I have kids of my own to see the end of One Piece. I don't, because I'll feel kind of depressed about it at that point. So, good day to you all once again. Sanity. 身近にあるもの常に気をつけてないとあまりに近すぎて見失ってしまうあなたが最近体験した幸せは一体何ですか恵まれすぎていて思い出せないかも今ここにいること息をしていることただそれだけのことが奇跡だと気づく身近にあるもの常に気をつけてないとあまりに近すぎて見失ってしまいそう Once we get to something don't forget to see it and I'll never take it for granted 続けてきた夢諦めずに進めたなんてそれほどを言えるほど何もできちゃいないけど自己に君の勇気を胸に明日を生き抜くために and I'll never take it for granted Let's go Hey, last word, forgot to say this, forgot to mention him at all, Kurama, the nine-tailed fox, love foxes, they're my favorite animal, he is awesome, and he don't take shit from nobody. You better believe Naruto is awesome, believe it, and I just said that, so once again, finally, truly, awesomely, insanity is how it is, sanity is overrated. Good night.